The time is 5:30 p.m. The City of Smithville, a special call council meeting, March 9th, 2023. Notice is hereby given pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Vernon's annotated Civil Statute Article 625217, that the City of Smithville will conduct a special called council meeting March 9th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall, 317 Main Street, Smithville, Texas. We will go into the open meeting. The meeting is called to order. Closed meeting. I'm sorry, Robert Campbell has something to say.
Yes, individuals required to attend the executive session tonight are the mayor, the city council, the city manager, our general counsel, the chief of police, and the city secretary, and any other individual as necessary, as long as those individuals are employees or officers of the city. Citizens will have an opportunity to address the council upon the conclusion of the closed executive session and after the opening of the meeting, reinstatement of the open meeting. We ask that you state your name clearly, tell us where you live, speak into the microphone. You will have 3 minutes to make any comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. So, closed meeting, executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code 551074, personal matter. The little a. This chapter does not require a government body to conduct an open meeting. 1, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. The city council shall convene in a closed session to evaluate the performance of the mayor. As the subject of the closed meeting, I, Sharon Forrester, waive the option to have a closed meeting. Pursuant to my rights stated in 551074, subsection B of the government code that states subsection A does not apply if the officer of employee who is the subject of deliberation or hearing requests a public hearing. I formally request this to be done in an open meeting. In accordance with the section 551074, subsection B of the government code, the council will evaluate the performance of the mayor in an open session. Robert, I need you to state how a special called meeting comes about.
In this particular case, a special call meeting, a special call meeting was at the request of 3 council members to hold an executive session to evaluate the performance of the mayor.
Please state who called the special meeting.
Mayor, Joanna Morgan,
Okay.
Councilmember Etheridge, Thomas Etheridge, Councilmember Janice Bruno.
Okay. We'll start with Tom. Please state to the public why you called the special meeting.
I want to read these comments, please. The purpose of tonight's meeting for me personally is to gather information related to multiple claims of inappropriate behavior and or actions on the part of the mayor in recent months. In the case of certain of these claims to which I have been made aware, taken individually, a reasonable person could conclude that they do not rise to the level of seriousness to warrant tonight's venue. However, when considered in the aggregate, that same reasonable person could conclude they represent a serious situation. And in the case of certain claims, they alone would be considered serious by a reasonable person. So given the aggregation of claims and the various serious nature of certain ones of those claims, I believe this session is warranted. These proceedings will go a long way towards satisfying me that I and this body have fulfilled our individual and collective duty to the citizens of Smithville to ensure their elected officials are serving them with the standards of integrity they expect and deserve. I want to be clear that I do not have firsthand knowledge or evidence substantiating any of the claims. So I'm not asserting that any of these claims are facts. But I have been personally approached by multiple times by multiple citizens over the course of the past 2 to 3 months, asserting these claims to be discussed tonight. These individuals are believed by me to be credible, upstanding members of the community, some in leadership positions with no motives known to me for them to be dishonest about these assertions. I want to thank the city manager, the city attorney, and my colleagues for their service. I want to thank the mayor for her understanding of this process that I believe must be followed and for her cooperation.
Thank you, Tom. Joanna?
As I have said in private conversations with you, Sharon, I feel that even though you have made, I believe you've grown quite a bit in the job since you took the position. I feel that there are still, I have heard from many citizens, actions that you have taken that I feel are not consistent with the behavior and the public conduct that's expected of an elected official. As Tom stated, and as I've told you, I don't, there again, it's not my intention to convict you of any particular actions. I'm just saying that in the aggregate, the comments that I have heard from citizens, and here again, these are not things I've necessarily witnessed on my own, but I have heard from credible people that have indicated that you have indulged in behavior that I think is inconsistent with the position of mayor.
Very good. Thank you. All right, Janice.
Yes, Mayor, I have concerns about the impact of recent actions and past actions that have affected the morale of the city council, city employees, and the police department. My goal for this discussion is to remain positive and solution focused, taking into account the good work that has been done while you were a city council member. Whether or not you agree or disagree with what I'm about to say is not relevant, because perception is everything when you're in a leadership position.
I agree.
What folks perceive to be true will be believed first, and we must change that public perception for your success. However, I do want to give you some specific examples of concern during your short tenure as mayor that I believe should be brought to light. Nearly a year ago, when the council was going to vote on the enclave development, you brought me into your office and we had a discussion, and you really wanted me to be for that particular development.
Okay.
At that time, you were really building up the development. You were talking about, oh, it's going to be wonderful. There'll be families that will play and they'll be able to work here. And you made the statement, you're even looking into buying a couple of lots yourself. And at
Okay.
that time, I didn't think that was very appropriate. The second is an incident that happened while I was at the Workforce Training Center sometime back in early January, where you came to the center and called the executive director out of the center. And we watched it from the center, this screaming match between yourself and the executive director of the Workforce Training Center.
So what did I say if I was screaming?
I could hear it through the door.
I'm screaming. So please, I don't have a problem with you stating what I said.
Yeah, you were screaming, yelling and screaming. Okay, I just thought it was very inappropriate, maybe to,
What did I say?
I do not know what you said, but it was watched. It was watched by everybody in the Workforce Training Center, and for the mayor to be in a public place screaming at another individual is very unprofessional,
Thank you.
my opinion.
Your opinion. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Now, after observing the videos that were with Cedric Hill, I believe the whole incident could have been avoided if Mr. Hill had been ignored. Unfortunately, in those videos, it seemed like he was encouraged to continue only because of the responses he received on each of the occasions, and particularly the casino night and then down at the park. Then just last week, we had a potential developer meeting at the Bistro at the Smithville Hospital. At that time, you actually offered the acreage on your brother's property, which is, I believe, 7 acres,
I also own the property.
or your property,
Thank you.
which I thought was very inappropriate, talking to a potential developer. And I believe that when you came into that meeting, you really wanted to help the developer find the property, but I thought it was a little inappropriate that you offered your own property. And then you called me directly after the meeting because I think you realized that that might not have been a good thing to do.
No, I called to discuss the meeting with you, but that's your opinion.
Okay, I really think that that was inappropriate
To call you?
to have it, no, to have a developer come into town and then you're offering your own property.
Okay, well,
And the last thing is, there was a suggestion that both the city manager and the police chief should be fired. And this was immediately after the Cedric Hill incident. That was relayed to myself and to others within the city.
and who else was present?
I don't know.
Okay, so it
I-
was
I do-
relayed and.
I
then
do know
got-
you made the comment to me. This was right before the Abundant Grace community event. So
So me
I,
and you had another conversation
With
that I
you.
said something inappropriate, so that's okay.
correct.
Okay.
So in my opinion, each of these circumstances, I believe they could have been handled in a much more professional manner. So here would be my suggestions moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, my suggestion is build your team first. I think this area could use some improvement. Running the city is a team sport, not an individual issue. We must have a group of trusted, competent leaders, and then give them the latitude to take charge is the first and most essential task. In no way do we ask to see somebody fired or asked to leave until we can find ways to improve performance. Very
agree.
similar to what we are asking to be done now. The second suggestion is prepare to collaborate. Nothing big is going to happen in Smithville by government acting alone. We need a mayor to make a commitment and insistence to collaboration and not division. i.e. the Chamber of Commerce, the City of Smithville, the Smithville Workforce Training Center, and all the other community entities.
And I totally agree with
Almost-
everything you're saying. And
Uh,
I feel I volunteer at all these organizations to bring people together.
Correct. All must work in harmony and be able
Okay.
to work with one another.
Work with one another.
Backbiting, gossip, and slander must be eradicated.
That's the reason why we're having an open meeting, people, for you to hear this.
The
This is
Third-
an opinion.
The third suggestion would be to create a performance improvement plan, just as we do for our city manager. This could be something that we could do all as a council. This could outline specific behaviors or actions that the mayor would need to improve upon, as well as the council.
Okay.
This would provide a clear set of expectations and timelines that could help the mayor and the council focus efforts and create accountability for all of our progress.
And I'm all for that.
I think we need to set goals to help you as the mayor improve your leadership skills by working with you to create achievable goals that align with the needs of the city, as well as the mayor's personal growth. This could be through public acknowledgement and small celebrations to build momentum through positive change. Some ideas, these could be possible resources that might be helpful moving forward if you wish to improve leadership skills. TML currently offers free webinars. One is dealing with First Amendment auditors, which you might have already taken that. Social media, city possibilities. There's a webinar called Policies and Pitfalls webinar, Building Effective City Council Relationships, and a refresher on the newly elected webinar series. I think another suggestion would be to connect with your peers. Maybe you already do this across the state and the counties. The good resources might be, it's called Cities of Service, Living Cities, and Results for America, and the Mayor's Innovation Project. I think as the mayor, you hold the most important job in the city. And I think these types of connections will help you better lead and solve some of the issues that are going on in the city.
Perfect. So can you name some people that I've spoken to? Go ahead. So just take Janice's, it works.
Okay, so that was a lot. So I wrote a lot of notes. So I just want to make sure from what Tom just said, Joanna just said, and you just said, these everything that we're talking about is all hearsay? Like it's from somebody, like there's no formal complaint or there's nothing written down or there's no names anywhere for us to be able to go back and make sure that this is true, or like I feel like we're almost playing a game of telephone, like, you know, when you're a kid and and like you say one thing and then it goes through a bunch of people. So, I mean, how do we know, like, how do I know? Or how does Bill know? Because we're the two that I guess we're not privy to some of this. How do we know where this came from and how true it is before we say it's a he said, she said game?
Can I be recognized?
Yes, sir,
Speak.
please do.
Okay. As I said earlier in my prepared remarks, you know, for me, this is not assertion of fact.
Can you hear him?
Yeah.
This is not assertion of fact, nor did I attend this meeting expecting to name names. I expected to ask questions. This was supposed to be an opportunity for me to ask the mayor questions.
You're welcome to ask me questions.
And I have some here and I'm going to go through them. 'Cause I
Perfect.
think asking questions specifically will be informative for me, and you can respond however, you know, you feel comfortable.
Thank you.
One of the things, and I'll defer to Councilmember Bruno, because one of the reasons that I know I asked Robert to consider calling the special session was in our last executive session, there were questions that were beginning to be asked related to employment of the chief of police. And council at the time advised us that we were not able to ask that question because the parameters of the executive session guidance was very limited and that would fall outside the purview. So that question, a very serious question, was left hanging. That alone, without anything else, in my view, warranted calling a special session with,
So you're referring
I'm
to,
going to get there in just a second. It's
Oh.
going to be one of the questions.
Okay.
So one is, did you ever direct any employee to take any actions or did you engage in any activities which you knew at the time to be illegal?
I did not. And I want to elaborate on that. I had one meeting and that meeting was arranged by Robert Campbell at his house per him, and he invited Repka. And when I arrived, there was alcohol on the table. So I just want to put that out there that the only meeting I had with him, they had arranged at his house. It wasn't at it wasn't here. It wasn't at the city hall. It was arranged by Repka and Campbell at his house.
Okay. So just to be clear, you know, it's more broad than that. It's
Okay.
just very simply, did you ever direct any employees, city manager, chief of police, any employees of the city to take any actions or engage in any behavior that you knew at the time to be illegal?
No,
Okay. Did you take any actions at any time or direct anyone to do anything that you subsequent to that found to be illegal, but you didn't think it was illegal at the time?
well, that's a big loop. No, if I didn't think it was illegal, why would you put both words in one sentence?
Because at the time you might not have thought it was illegal and then subsequently you found out it was, and you didn't intend to direct somebody to do something that was wrong. I'm trying to just identify whether you found out something was illegal. And let me finish and then I'll be glad to.
Well,
Okay,
I was just
I-
going to say, is it like you're trying to ask, did she ask the question?
I'm just asking the question whether you.
I have never instructed anybody to do anything
Okay.
illegal.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have you engaged in conversations with anyone where you shared your belief or your desire that the employment of either the city manager or the chief of police be terminated? And if so, would you provide the details of that?
No, but evidently you have details. Why don't you provide it?
My next question is and this is to Councilmember Bruno's question.
Wait.
To a real estate investor or developer in a recent meeting attended by the city manager, Councilmember Bruno, and perhaps others, did you make any direct or indirect statements that you had property down the road on 230 that met his development criteria and that you could facilitate approvals in a transaction?
Okay, he was looking for a place to put a factory on. Was he for at least needed 10 acres? Wasn't that the truth? Well, me and the gentleman named Mo at the other end never met the guy before that day. And Jill, Janice, and the guy named Greg, they were having their own conversation at that end. Remember, now we're at the hospital and there's two tables, round tables. So she's a good 10 foot from me. So Mo is right here. I never met Mo before. So you're not Mo. Anyway, sorry about that. But anyway, Mo struck up a conversation because we weren't in that conversation. So anyway, Mo and then when I said the words, well, I got 7 acres for sale. That's what she heard. And I did regret saying it because I don't mix my real estate with my mayor, but I own the property. You're a lawyer. Can I not sell my own property? Can I not sell my own property? That's all we needed to know. Go ahead. I did not vote on it. I did not vote on it. Go ahead, sir.
Excuse
Okay,
me,
I'll
for the
tell you.
record, I was not involved in that meeting. I wasn't there.
Only 2 left.
Yes, sir.
One is, did you accuse the executive director in your official capacity as mayor of the Chamber of Commerce of stealing money? And if so, can you provide any details to that?
You are welcome to come to the chamber. And unless you have a name of who I spoke this to, you are welcome to come to the chamber and I will open the books for you.
I'm just asking
I'm
if you accused them.
I asked her, I didn't accuse her of taking money. I asked her to please justify where the money went.
Thank you.
Okay.
And last question is, have you failed to pay at local eating establishments for any of your purchases?
Do you have proof?
I just asked is the answer yes? or
Not
no?
that I know of. And I did call the front room and spoke to Vicky. I've never skipped a tab. I also called Simon and Ginger at Carnalente. They said I've never skipped a tab. So you're welcome to bring forth the bill or whatever you need to bring. I swear you are welcome. I called an open meeting because of this. I want you to hear what they have to say. Okay. Anything else?
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Joanna?
Yes, you just stated that you only had one meeting with the chief of police with regard to the Cedric incidents. You just stated that the meeting.
I say I've only had one meeting with you. I don't recall ever having another. Oh, wait, we did. We did have another meeting. We had a meeting. Repka called the district attorney with Robert Tamble. We went in Robert Tamble's office and the district attorney, along with Repka and along with Tamble, said, it is what it is. He's First Amendment order. He has the right to do this. You're right. I did have another meeting. Did I have another meeting with you? I know I had with here at City Hall. Okay, well, we had 6 meetings. Thank goodness he took notes. I do remember that we had meetings. It said here, evidently you're prepared, and that's great. I didn't know the questions for tonight. If I had got the questions, I would have gone back on my calendar and looked, but I'm not prepared as he is because he knows the questions, which oh, just from memory. Wow, I must be very impressionable on your mind that you can remember 6 meetings with me. Okay. Well, needless to say, they're all about the same thing. What we're in litigation with that we're not supposed to talk about without the TML lawyer that was here. So we're in litigation. We can't talk about it. I'm glad we had 6 meetings and evidently they all turned out the same. Or do you need to add anything, Repa? Do you need to add? Nope. Okay.
I have a question for Chief Repka. Chief, have you ever been asked by the mayor to take any action with regard to Cedric Hill that were
I don't believe we can discuss Cedric Hill in this meeting. We're under litigation, sir. Are we under litigation with Cedric Hill? This is not on the agenda. The agenda says, sir, let me read it. Consider and take possible action regarding the evaluation of the mayor. I don't think we can call the TML lawyer if we need to. We are under litigation, sir. Oh, well, I'm sorry, repeat.
So the question is, her question allowed for this
Correct, sir.
And I believe the answer is yes, because it all involves the evaluation of your performance as mayor.
But we are under litigation not to talk about Cedric Hill.
Right, so the issue that you brought up, Madam Mayor, was how many meetings did you have with Chief Repka and Mr. Tamble? That's all related to your performance and job duties as mayor. However, I will advise the city council and everyone here not to talk about any details related to the Cedric Hill case because it is in litigation and this is being broadcast.
Yes, sir, it is. And I think, I'm glad you recognize that.
I would say, I didn't think that we could talk outside of anything about Cedric Hill specifically.
I will ask
No,
for a
correct.
ruling from our council. My question to Chief Repka was if the mayor has ever asked him to do anything illegal with regard to the Cedric Hill case. Not any details about it.
I think I think it's allowed under the purview of this agenda item, but I don't think that should be discussed.
Okay, all right, Janice, you're next.
Well, she read it all.
Oh, okay, well,
I mean, well, if you
Do
have
you?
more.
I don't know. This is all new to me, but I wanted the public to hear what they had to say.
Well, I do want to go back to the meeting last week that we had on Thursday, and it was with the developer. His name is Greg Cunningham. He was in town. Sharon came to the meeting. Jill Strube was there. Dr. Wilson was there, Greg Cunningham, and another gentleman named Mo, who's a real estate agent. The discussion, Sharon showed up, Mayor showed up. She wanted to tape the meeting. So my question to you is, did you have the whole meeting? Did you tape the whole meeting on your
No,
phone?
No, because I was thinking that, well, Mr. Gregg was here before. And in that meeting, we all met here and then Mr. Gregg met with Mr. Sinnott. And then after he started saying that Mr. Sinnott went up on the price, which what I don't believe was true. I don't remember that. I just quit.
Okay.
Because it didn't matter then because Mr. Sinnott gave Mr. Gregg a price, but he stated at the meeting that he went, but then that's between him and Mr. Sinnott. So that at that point,
So my question to you was, do you feel like it was inappropriate at the time to offer up your 7 acres with in your position as mayor to this particular developer that was in town?
please note, I own the property and the mayor, the guy, how many acres is he looking for? How many acres does he need to build?
7 to 9 for, you wanted to put apartment buildings, and you said, my land is ready to go. I'll make the call right now. I'll
My
call.
land.
Right, my land is ready to go and I'm going to make the call. Now you
Okay.
didn't, and you also offered to him, I'll take you down there. I'll show it to you.
And then I said, never mind.
I know.
Because I sent a text.
My
It's not for
point,
sale.
my point,
Okay.
Mayor, is I feel like that was very inappropriate in a
Recommend it. Take it.
public meeting.
Thank you, Janice Bruno, for pointing that out. Recommended. It will not happen again.
But
Okay.
I do just want to make sure to say, just because I want to play devil's advocate a little bit. I mean, she wasn't using her position as mayor to sell her property, was she? I mean, I mean, I can see it where you're saying like there's a fine line, and I totally get that. Like I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate because at the same time, I feel like, what if I had a piece of property for sale? In fact, I do. I have 12 acres over in Bastrop, or 13. If anybody wants to buy that, heck, come and talk to me. I mean, that's not using
But
my
I
city
think
council.
The mayor
ship.
came in an official capacity that day as the mayor.
Okay, well noted. And it will not
So-
happen again in our next
Okay,
meeting, okay?
Fair enough.
Okay,
Mayor.
what is your, yes, sir.
Can I be recognized, please?
Oh, yes, sir.
Just to follow up, and this is with all due respect, I think simply because you own fee title to property and you're legally allowed to transfer it, doesn't give you the right to use your position, whether it was intended or whether a reasonable person would perceive that you're using that position to steer or guide a transaction that would serve your interest. That is, I think, and council can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that is really the foundation of conflict of interest. is if there's this perception that you're using your position. For example, if there were clearly more than one property that this particular developer could consider in the town of Smithville,
He was,
and the mayor,
he had like 6 of them, didn't?
let me finish, please. And the mayor or any elected official, wouldn't just be the mayor, myself included, any elected official or city employee, city manager, acted in a way or made statements such that a reasonable person would conclude that they were steering them or creating a preferential disposition towards self profiting. That's a conflict of interest, plain and simple. And counsel, I would ask you to correct me if I'm wrong on that. but
Well,
that is- And I'm not suggesting that's what happened. I'm just saying, falling back.
I can
on
tell
a-
you the gentleman gave me his card
Oh,
and we
oh.
can call him right now. I don't have the card. I have to go find it. His name was Mo though. I'm pretty sure he has the information, but we can call him and you can ask him. I never made contact with the man.
The only point I'm making is simply owning a piece of property and having the right to sell it doesn't excuse you from the requirements to operate in a way that doesn't create a conflict of interest. So that's
Okay.
all. I'm
Duly
saying.
noted. Thank you. Duly noted. Okay. Do you have any comments, Robert?
I do not.
Okay. Where do we go from here?
Can I ask a couple questions, I guess?
Okay.
So I was taking a bunch of notes. Janice, you said there was a screaming match between the mayor and the Workforce Training Center director. So that's April.
Yes.
And when was that? Or did something like there was video or is
Yes.
there?
Yes. it was
Can
on
you bring the
the
video?
5th of the 6th. Well, it was on the Smithville Workforce Training Center, but there were several people in the building that witnessed that screaming
But
match.
do
that
we know what it
did.
was about?
I just thought you got a
You- well,
mayor
Joanna
showing
is
up,
saying yes. So
sho-
what was it about, Joanna?
to start screaming at another individual with people that are watching the whole incident. It could have been in a public or a private place to have that discussion.
I mean,
Duly
true.
noted. We'll have it in a private place.
I mean, that's very true. I understand what you're saying. I
Okay.
just.
Well, duly noted. We will have it in a private place. Duly noted. Okay, Joanna?
and-
Mayor, I would like to come back to something we mentioned earlier. You mentioned that none of us are naming names, that everything that we're discussing tonight, or most of what we're discussing, I think Ms. Bruno had some personal experiences, but everything that I have discussed with you previously and in this meeting is admittedly hearsay. And Tom alluded to this also, but they are comments that I have heard from multiple people regarding the same types of behavior on multiple occasions. And as Tom said, when this happens, when you're hearing the same types of things alleging unprofessional behavior from multiple people who are upstanding citizens in this community and whose opinions you respect, this carries weight with me because as elected officials, it is our responsibility to represent the city well and to show the highest standard of ethical behavior. So I bring these things up not to convict you of any behavior.
And I've always
but just
respected
to-
you and I appreciate having a conversation with you. And I appreciate you bringing that forward and I will work on it if that's something I need to do. Thank you. But thank you.
And it's alluded to. We want to help you succeed.
And I feel like I'm a team player.
I do just want to say, I mean, I would think that it's good if the citizens, or if it's been happening multiple times, that something be brought to everybody's attention. And what I mean by that is you can put in a formal complaint or you can write an email and let everybody kind of know. So it's not something that's just like we can address the issue. And
I think
will-
that's important that it would have been, like everybody would have known.
I will give an example and put myself out there. And I did see Miss Washington in the audience. But one of our constituents, I came to the city council meeting. Don't ask me to remind, I don't know which one it was, but I came in shorts and I was a little bit late and I had my baby with me. And she wrote into us and wrote and wrote a formal letter that anybody can open access and said, hey, I don't feel like that was appropriate. I feel like that was not, professional of Cassie to go up there in shorts when she's in an official capacity and she had her baby. And, we all addressed it. It was addressed from the mayor to me. It was addressed from the city manager to me. And then I think that we spoke with all of us together as a council and talked about that. And I have yet to come back with shorts on, and I have yet to come back with my baby. I apologize to that. I think I had a conversation with Danielle. Danielle had a conversation. I'm sorry, Miss Washington. Sorry, Danielle. Miss Washington. Miss Washington had conversations with, I think, Robert and the mayor. I don't
I did
know who
speak
she
to
had.
Danielle. Miss
But-
Washington.
I think that is a proper way of bringing to light issues that are being had with specific elected officials, because I can also say that I feel like that's happened before with other city council members where other people have wrote in letters. And so I'm not saying that I don't agree with everything that everybody said, and I'm not saying that Sharon doesn't have maybe things that she might need to work on, but I also think that all of us have things that we need to work on, and it's rough to have to sit up here and have sticks and rocks thrown at you without knowing what was happening. Now, with that being said, I understand too that it might be nervous, people might be nervous to write in a letter or a formal complaint or something on, whatever they might say. But I do think that we're in a position where we encourage that, because we're not going to sit here and throw rocks at those people. In fact, we would rather hear of that. So it's not a hearsay, and I'm going to say it again, it's not a game of telephone, because I'm not saying I don't believe what y'all are saying, because I respect you and I don't think that you would bring that up without it. But it's really hard for me to be like, oh, Sharon doesn't pay her bills at the bar, when I've been there with her and I've seen it. I mean, I guess I've paid a couple bills, but that's just because I've said, hey, I'm going to grab your tab, but it's not like she walked out on it. But it's hard for me to believe that when I've never seen that happen in real life. You know what I mean? And I think that she is not someone that would ever walk out on a tab on purpose or even do it. And so I'm not saying it didn't, because again, we don't know. But if no one can come up and have proof and say something, I guess in a way, it's just hard.
Mayor, can I be recognized?
Sure.
I mean,
Rob?
I agree. I know where you're going with this. We've had these conversations before on the council about what could be characterized as airing dirty laundry and bringing things to the public. I would point out, though, that the mayor elected to have this process played out in public. Not,
sir.
and it could have very easily have been played out in private where it would have been less public. And she's entitled to that, but I just say it's important.
I have nothing to
prohibit-
hide.
No, I agree with that. But what I meant is we're still, whether it was in a closed session or an open session, it was still throwing rocks at somebody. And I'm not saying throwing rocks in a bad way. I'm just saying we're still throwing a bunch of stuff at her, because I can tell you, I didn't even get to write all the notes because I was trying to write notes and it was just a lot coming at somebody. Not,
Okay.
and again, I'm not saying it's true or not true, because I don't know either. It's all hearsay stuff. I'm just saying it would be nice to be able to have something that I can actually read and say, hey, Sharon,
And I
this
under- and I
person came
understand-
through and said
I-
X, Y, Z.
I understand, but as I pointed out in the opening remarks, when you have a series of events from credible sources come to you, I personally, and I suspect at least two other council members, the ones that asked for the session, felt like it was our duty to bring these to a formal hearing or a formal session.
And I think
the-
that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, the appropriate venue in my mind would have been an executive session, but the mayor is entitled to waive that, which she did. And I'm not at all uncomfortable. I will tell you, there's nothing that I would have said in executive session that I haven't said today, just for everybody.
But I just wanted everyone to
These-
hear what you had to
Th-
say.
These questions are just that, they're questions. And I made it clear in my opening remarks that that's what they were, they're questions. I'm fact finding. I'm trying to understand, are all these things happening? Because if some of these things are occurring, then I feel like I have a responsibility and a duty to the citizen to act upon those in whatever way is appropriate based on what the responses to the questions were.
Thank you.
Bill, you got anything?
So I guess, how do we go from here? Bill.
mind,
I'd like to make a comment.
yeah, I was gonna say, I was gonna invite you because I respect you and I would like to know what your
I
perspective
appreciate that.
is.
And
Thank
I
you.
feel we all respect each other here. and
Absolutely.
Why we got our dirty laundry aired out.
First of all, my personal opinion is that teamwork is of the utmost importance in this group, in this body. The question comes to my mind is, how did we get here? Obviously, there's some smoke. We haven't seen much fire, but there's some smoke.
Okay.
It pains me to actually see this kind of behavior. It pains me. I grew up here. I love you. I love your family. You know that.
And I love
Robert,
this, I love
same
this
thing, okay?
town.
Let me finish. I know you did. Okay. How did we get here? And that's important. Obviously, there's something in the community that's brought this to the fore. It's not people just simply making up things on a witch hunt or anything of that nature. At least this is my belief. There's something there, even if it's simply perceived or actual, we don't know, but perception, as somebody said, is very important in running an organization like the city council. Very important. And if you have too many people that have the perception that we're not doing the right thing, or we're not presenting the appropriate decorum, as we are all supposed to do. When you take an oath here, when you become a city council person, there's a way you carry yourself. When you're a police officer, there's a way you carry yourself. You wear a uniform, that says something. Okay, we wear a uniform, it's just that you don't see it. And there's something to be said there as well. So instead of all the attacks, I've heard many, many things in the community where people are on one side, they have their own positions, points of view. Then you have opposite points of view. And what I don't like to see is a city divided. I don't like to see a council divided. And I don't think we can have that if you're going to be effective going forward. In fact, I know we can't be effective going forward. I would have preferred that this be done privately. We've done private sessions before when we have evaluations for Robert. Every year we do that in private. There's some things that we say to Robert that does not make him happy, I can tell. There's some things that Robert says that doesn't make some of the city council people happy. But when we come out, we have to come out as a unified body doing the city's business. I'm sorry, that's what we're here to do. So having said that, and we've seen the divisions and people have taken their positions and some people are neutral. My biggest concern is that what do we do going forward? What do we do going forward? What changes do we need to make? You know, the community, you, me, the rest of the city council members, what do we do to change going forward? So we can push the city forward and manage the change that we all agree is coming. What do we do? Let's not lay blame. Let's try to solve problems. I would have preferred we solve the problems inside, much like a husband and wife. If you get into a fight, the last place you want to go settle your differences is in the front yard. Sorry, do it at home. When you finish, you either come out with a divorce or you come out happy. Okay?
Oops.
In this case, we can't have a divorce.
Nope, we're not divorcing today.
Okay. So my last question is, we need to endeavor to see what it takes to move forward. That's my
Agreed.
comments. Thank you.
Well, and I had said that earlier, Bill. I said, I think we need to set some goals amongst ourselves to help not only the city council and the mayor improve our leadership skills,
I don't think you're speaking into
come
your
up
mic.
with some
There you go.
achievable goals. Okay. And I said, you know, focus on what we got to do for the city and leave some of this behind moving forward. And
I agree.
some of the other things I think that would be helpful is, I don't know if you've done this and I mentioned it, maybe connecting with some other peers that are from small cities and talking to those mayors and, you know, just getting some ideas. I don't know if you are involved with other small cities.
I
but it
am.
Would be a suggestion. Because I think those connections will really help us solve some of our own problems too. So.
Appreciate it. Okay, so we're still in the open meeting, so I think I just go forward. Okay, sir, what we got?
Are we, just for a point of order, did we stay in open meeting the whole time? Okay, all right. That's what I wanted to just make sure. I was gonna make a motion to adjourn so we could go to public
Let's
comment,
go.
but no, we don't need to adjourn because we have
No, no,
public
Jim.
comment.
Okay. Well, you ready?
Adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? The end. Thank you for coming. Remember Raffle Mania is tonight at the elementary school.